members of the clergy, members of the Magnus family, members of the RGR Gleaner family, members of the broadcasting fraternity, members of Jamaica Land We Love, Alan touched so many times over so many years. I've had the opportunity to share thoughts about Alan more so in the last few weeks than I have had before, and therefore today my intention is to be brief and to think of, reflect on, and share with you on Alan Magnus, the treasure. I'm speaking about Alan, the treasure, and I'm speaking from my heart. I was one of those who met Alan long before I saw Alan, because yes, I woke up to Alan as well from as long as I can remember. But when I met him physically, I was surprised that he was so huge in my mind's eye. He was larger than life, but he was such a small person in stature. And immediately I understand little but Talawa, because Alan has a huge in anything that he did. You didn't have any pretentious thoughts from the things that he said. He was straightforward. He was true to what he was doing, and he wanted you to be true to what you were asked to do. He was the consummate professional. I noted how many other professionals have worked with Alan and around Alan, and the fact that they all say the same thing. Alan was a gem. Never absent, never late, always on time. Alan had a tremendous professional ethic. That's a treasure today more than ever. It's a treasure for many, many years that we have looked forward to and spoken of in our group. I don't think that there is anyone else on the broadcasting spectrum that has developed the reputation for precision as Alan had. As I said in a tribute session a few nights ago when the RGR family met at Broadcasting House, I would often get calls from Merrick Needham when the station was not running on time, and he would go back to the point that at 6 o'clock, Alan had the time signal right in the eye at 7 o'clock, and the BBC copied him at 8. So if you're off track at 9, something is wrong, and it's not with Alan's time. That work ethic is something that we would love to see continue, and it would be a tribute to Alan if we were all to make sure we did our part in ensuring it continues. Alan, the treasure, was also an unselfish pioneer. We have heard all the things that he has been involved in, all the pioneering activities, the programs. Was unselfish in his contribution to his role in all that was done for the development of broadcasting in Jamaica through RGR. Alan, the treasure that is marked by longevity, over 50 years in the RGR Communications Group. That longevity is marked only by the fact that it is not just years, it is years of
taking our station to new heights in listenership. And in the process, he brought together a host of supporters from staff units and community listeners who, in their own spheres of endeavor, provided the titans of information which served as spices to the pie of the affable presentation. The Golden 70s group comprises announcers such as Marie Goff, John Toppin, Ralston McKenzie, yours truly, the late Doreen Samuels, and Henry Stennett, and others, and our supervisors, Hall Plummer, and the late Tony Verity, librarians, Jennifer DeLissa Lyons, and the late Cecile Wilson. In news and sports, we had people like Stan Reynolds, Ed Barnes, Courtney Sargent, technical operators, Wayne Chin, Ralph McKenzie, Chris Pearson, Uriel Branford, Brian Thomas, Raymond Marshall, Altie Hilton, and Neville Harvey, Andy Capp, and so many others. Of blessed memory, other staff including Lloyd Pusey, Narda Madison, May Lawrence, Pernil Parchment, Michael Andrade, Leon Lyons, and several ancillary workers, all a part of our 70s group. Alan was one of the founding members of our group and a lead creator of our WhatsApp group facility of past employees. Alan was relentless in acclamation for the assistance received from every staff and community supporter, tidbits from news and sports, ideas from administration, and the like. He was ever in praises for the partnership with his program director, Mr. Winston Ridgard. He enjoyed many moments of chit-chat with Doreen Samuels. He loved dearly every single member of his family. Some of our members of our group are present today, some having traveled from overseas. John Toppin and his wife, Lester Hines. Others apologize for their absence, while a few others, including yours truly, are resident here and in attendance this morning. Together, we sadly, but we proudly applaud the service provided by Alan Courtney Magnus, crowning him as the best ever Good Morning Man on Jamaican radio, and confirming our utmost pleasure at having been part of the band of background supporters for Alan and for every other presenter in the era of what many describe as the golden years of broadcasting. We salute our colleague. Well done, Alan Courtney Magnus. Oh, what a man. Rest in peace, our brother. Rest in peace.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. Today I will be giving tribute on behalf of our siblings. And I'll start first with my oldest sister, Carol. This pretty girl right beside me. Teddy was always a big brother to me. Calm, dedicated, whether times were good or bad. He stood up for discipline, kept it together, looked after family, especially mommy. I know he's with God and all is well. Today, we have bonded well as a family and we continue to grow and love each other. We will miss Teddy, but we know that the family is the root of things, and Teddy did well with his. Now, this is from our brother Donovan. He's sitting there. His little brother Donovan calling Teddy like his mother did. You remember enjoying Teddy and Valerie living with them in Mandeville. Teddy who brought his first scout uniform. When Teddy started making money in his early years at KC, he would buy Donovan all the treats his mother couldn't afford to buy back then. Especially like taking his younger siblings to the movies and buying them cheese crunchies and animal crackers. In early 2020, our other brother Richard passed away. And I remember as we sat in that year, he was talking about Alan and reflecting on life and his siblings. And he asked me to share something in case he should pass away before. And he spoke about Alan. And he said, he admired Alan for who the man he became. He spoke lovingly of him when things were hard on the family. Alan was the one who stepped up and rescued the family in many ways. He saw his brother became a man who many loved and respect.
To the officiating party, family, friends, and loyal listeners, good morning. And to, of course, the RGR group. On behalf of my husband, Andrew Sherwood, and our family, I take this opportunity to express our sincere gratitude for the outpouring of love expressed and support during our time of grief. Today we are gathered together to give thanks for the life of my brother, father, grandfather, radio father, a veteran broadcaster, Alan Courtney Magnus, the Good Morning Man. It is said that death, the enemy of humanity, pardons no one, whatever your status, age, ethnicity, weight, or height. This enemy comes and snatches the husband from his wife, the teacher from her students, the president from his office, the babe from the cradle. Now death has taken our beloved from us. Alan Magnus lived his allotted time of 80 years. He touched many lives home and abroad for almost over 43 years. His signature voice for many of us was the first voice you would hear in the morning. He was a small-bodied man who had an infectious laughter. My brother to me were more than just a person, more than just a voice. It was a place I finally felt at home. We shared many times talking, reminiscing about his wife, his beloved rib, his job, and the waking up early in the morning. Laughter and sorrow shared. He shared his retirement and wanting so dearly to go home to his beloved Kerry. To Alan, Socrates rose these words, and it rings in our ear. Death may be the greatest of all human blessings. It rings true. It would have extinguished his emotional pain of not having his wife to share the moments of his retirement from broadcasting. Alan is not here today, but his voice would never be forgotten. It is immortalized in our memory. Alan Courtney Magnus, rest in peace. Lives are like rivers. Eventually they go where they must, not where you want them to go. And I just want to quote from a song to our family. When you are weary, feeling small, when tears are in your eyes, I will comfort you. Thank you.
Yes, it is. So I'm the last of the siblings, and I'll give my tribute to my brother. Each life that touches ours for good. That's a line from a favorite hymn I love to sing. This is how I feel about my dear brother Alan. I grew up listening to a distinct voice and an infectious laughter on air. Alan was my alarm every morning at 5 a.m. on the Good Morning Man show. In my home, the radio was always tuned to RGR. I don't know if that radio has ever tuned to another radio station. I admired how disciplined he was to always be on time for work. I developed that same attitude in my entire school life. I was never late for school. I remember one morning, one of my schoolmates saying to me, "So Magnus, it's what you do. Open the school gate every morning." Thanks to my brother, I was that disciplined. I love this passion and drive for education. I didn't have anyone around me to motivate me to go to school, but just listening to him each day inspired me to excel in school. I would listen to how well-rounded he was in current events, and so this propelled me to read a lot and to listen to the BBC News. Alan became my mentor in many ways.
Of 63 years. We met in 1961 when Alan came to England to attend Loughborough University. His fellow student, Jean Guthrie, brought him to the Guthrie's home for some Jamaican warmth. A deep bond of friendship was formed. And as I look around, I see Yvonne, I see Maureen. We represented that elite group of young Jamaicans in England that was going to change the world. We loved music, and we loved world debates. Music was part of our DNA.
Bond and made an incredible team. When Alan entered a family full of girls, as you can imagine, he delighted in us being around. We knew he thought he was married to all 7 of us. Little did he know, and little did we know at that time, that it would be the beginning of an unbroken bond. We made much of Alan, catered to him here in Jamaica and abroad. We loved Alan like a brother. He was special to us, and he knew it. Alan watched some of us grow up from teenagers and young adults to become wives, mothers, and some of us grandmothers as well. He has been part of our lives and our children's lives, traveling to Florida, Colorado, and even Washington State to celebrate key moments in our family's biography. Cecile, the youngest of the Tingling sisters,
recalls being the flower girl at Alan and Carrie's wedding, and all the sisters donned in their bridesmaid dresses. She remembers at the age of 12, Uncle Alan helping her with her homework in exchange for a cold red stripe. Over the years, our family has spent incalculable moments together, from the streets of Sablamar to the shores of Miami, with Alan and Carrie again. Travel well in the flying machine of Alan. Until we meet again, much love.
Okay, hello everyone. I'm Sasha, and Kayla, Maya, and I will be reading the tributes on behalf of all the grandchildren. Myself, Maya, Kayla, Jada, Luca, and Alessandro. From Luca and Alessandro. Grandpa was very happy when his first grandson, Luca, was born, after 4 granddaughters. Luca loved his papa dearly and loved FaceTiming him regularly. And even though Alessandro was only born a few days before he passed, Grandpa was very happy and grateful to have lived to see his second grandson. Papa, we love you. From Jada. I love Papa. Every single night, he would tell me good night and give me a kiss. I remember when I was injured, during that duration, he would even walk upstairs to tell me good night. I love him so much, and I know he feels the same. Even when he didn't want to, every other Sunday morning, I would walk him downstairs to come and eat breakfast with the family.
From Kayla Marie, which is myself, in loving memory of my grandfather. My grandfather, or as I fondly call him, Papa, was not only a grandfather, but also a friend and a guiding light in my life. He was very inspirational, and his presence brought warmth and comfort to every moment we shared. Papa was a man of many talents, and one of the greatest gifts, though being from the silent generation, was his tech-savvy nature. I'll never forget the day he gifted me my first iPhone, a gesture that not only brought joy, but also symbolized his willingness to embrace the ever-changing world around us. Whenever I needed help with anything tech-related, he was always there with a solution, ready to lend a helping hand and share his knowledge with patience and love. He was part of the reason I became so good with technology. Because of his knowledge, it inspired me to be as tech-savvy as he was. So after some time, whenever somebody needed help with something technology-related, guess who they came to? But amidst his technological prowess, Papa also had a wonderful sense of humor. Traveling with him was always an adventure, especially when we navigated airport lines with ease thanks to his wheelchair. It's a funny memory that brings a smile to my face even now, reminding me of his ability to find joy in the simplest of moments. And then there were the everyday acts of love and kindness that defined Papa's character. On days when no one else could pick me up from school, he was there. Sometimes not without saying, "Lord, Kayla, man, and I can't tell me these things beforehand." But he was there, still willing to take me home regardless. I also remember before Papa was retired and still on radio, every single year when it was my birthday, he would never forget to announce it. And so because of that, I basically became famous at my prep school because then everybody would tell me they heard my name on the radio. As I reflect on these cherished moments and countless others, I'm reminded of the depth of Papa's love and the impact he had on all who knew him. Though he may no longer walk beside us, his spirit will forever live on in the countless lives he touched and the memories he left behind. Today, as we say our final goodbyes, let us take solace in the knowledge that Papa's love will continue to guide us, his laughter will echo in our hearts, and his memory will be a source of strength in the days ahead. Rest in peace, Papa. Your love will live on in our hearts, always and forever. Saturday nights or Sunday mornings, when limes had turned into sleepovers with me and my cousins, I got to hear you every day as I prepared for school.
You're the best because every year I look forward to Grandpa wishing me a happy birthday on the radio. For us, he'd make it extra special. And it also meant that everyone at school and all across Jamaica knew it was your birthday without having to say anything. Friends at school would run up to me and say, "Oh, Sasha, I heard your grandpa on the radio this morning. Happy birthday," without having to say anything. With my overnight bag. The few times I missed it, I hated missing it because I knew it meant that he'd be alone for the night.
Morning, everybody. I am David Alan Magnus, first child of Alan and Valerie Magnus, first of the four siblings, Kelly, Anarchy, Richard. I'm here this morning to give you some perspective of what it was like for me growing up as his son, and to give up some of the memories, special memories that I have. When I was a little boy, back in the early 70s, I used to think that my father was like a comet matchstick. A very slim, brown body with a big black afro. Just looked like a matchstick to me. And he was a real 70s dude back then. The big afro, the psychedelic shirt with the big collar, the polyester bellfoot pants, and the platform shoes. It's kind of like, those are the early days memories. And I mean, when he dressed up like that, he just kind of looked like, the dark version of young Michael Jackson. Except that, he was a brown version. But those were the Mandeville days. And sometime in the 70s, we moved back to Kingston. Shortly after my sister Kelly, shortly after that, my sister Kelly was born. And we lived in several different places. But before that, I remember once in Mandeville, when Daddy came to this prep school that I used to go to called Smith's Prep, I believe. And he came for me at that school because they had put me in the naughty corner. And the naughty corner back then was when you're in the classroom and the teacher puts a chair in the corner and the back is to the class and you sit and face the wall. I must have been like maybe 4 years old, 5 years old, but he said nothing to me on the ride home. Nothing at all. And that was the first time in my life that I experienced how my father disciplined. But anyways, I'll get back to that. So we moved to Kingston, and not long after that, he got this job with RGR. And for me, at that point in time, I didn't see Daddy much at home because he was always working, always, doing these different shifts. afternoon shift, evening shift, I think even a night shift at one point in time. But then there were Sundays. And Sundays was the day when I would have dad and he'd be at home and he used to play music and I counted and realized that it was our apartment and there was smoke coming through the window. So I got up out of the pool, ran upstairs and daddy was fast asleep and I counted and realized that it was our apartment. As the number one broadcaster at any time. He just did what he did the way he wanted to do it. He showed us by example what it
Tributes, because there's a good chance he will too. I think that's why Anna put Kerry beside him to make sure that he don't get a fan walkout. I don't want to talk about the Good Morning Man as the nerdy and slightly bookish child of a popular personality. That was a very difficult balance for me. So what I would like to talk about is my daddy. And lucky for me, though a lot of people don't know it, he was also nerdy and bookish. My earliest and fondest memories of him are not of him being on the radio. I almost never listened to his shows. My memories of him are him being the rare adult who had a lot of free time during the day. And he spent a lot of that time with his head in a book. He loved spy thrillers, especially Robert Ludlum, 1977 to 2017. I said, Daddy, that is still 40 years. He said, Cho, for that chapter, just put, that was the good stuff. We always had to be on our P's and Q's because everyone knew who we were. But I was still proud to be his daughter. And I know Richard was still proud to be his son. Dad was a family man who wanted all his children together. We grew up in what persons thought was a very weird family dynamic, where his first wife, Auntie Val, and Kerry, my mom, were good friends, and we often vacationed together. We spent every weekend together, all 4 siblings, all grandchildren, and of course, both wives. That was our life. I remember I thought it was the norm for families to grow up in this way. So much so, I don't know if you know this, Auntie Val, but when I was young, because I didn't really understand the family dynamic, I once called you my stepmom. You wouldn't know it, but Daddy was a very quiet man. He was a man for his wife, Kerry, and all his children. He made mistakes like any dad, but he loved us with every fiber of his being in his special way. Even at 80, I would still sit in his lap. I was just as small as he was, and the only child that could still sit on his lap. Daddy taught me the importance of work ethic, always being on time and do what you love. He taught me how to drive. He taught me that a father needs to be present and love.
Taking care of Gong Gong Facey, our blind great-grandmother who lived on Duke Street. When he finished at school, he would go around on his bike, given to him by his grandfather, paying the household bills given to him by mommy. That was how he got this thing about time and discipline years in Africa. Donovan and Marcia, their kids and grandchildren.
Strong to live our lives in love. God of grace and power, send your Holy Spirit upon us now. Not even
the chair.
For if you and I are committed to using our voice in wide
527 HC. Could you kind O God, our shelter and our strength, you listen in love to the cry of your people. Hear the prayers we offer. Your family, O Lord, we pray that by holding